How you doing, guys? Big Mac Dan School here again today with a very special unboxing for you. Now this is something I've been waiting a long while for since I first decided on which Legion I'd like to do for the Horus Heresy Battles in the Age of Darkness, basically Warhammer 30k game. And yes, I have finally got my Primarch. For those of you that don't know, my Legion is the Thousand Suns, so that should give you a big clue as to who my Primarch is. It's Magnus the Red, of course. I also bought this, which is a part of a display base, a diorama base where you get Lemon Russ and Magnus, and you have them facing off against each other. So what I'll do is open this one first. This is £20, and it's basically a night base with like some ruins of Prospero on there, and each Primarch's base slot at either end of this base. So of course first you get the night base there, and next is the big piece of rubble. There we go, so it just fits on nicely there. What else is in there? So we've got some end pieces of rubble basically, and a little, I'll take these out of the bag just to give you a bit of a clearer image. So yeah, you can see, like, if you go up close, there's all definition on the rocks and everything. It's like destroyed sandstone by the looks of it there, which is kind of what you'd expect pyramids to be made out of, or I would anyway. But you know, some of the pyramids on Tizca are supposed to be like made of glass and stuff like that, and marble. So a lot of fine dirt detail there. It's really you can really feel the mold release on this. It's all very, very greasy. And then there's this, which is like a fallen. If you look at the detail on there, there's a scarab on there. A fallen obelisk, I guess it is. Yeah, scarab all the way around, and then some Tizcan runes or symbols, hieroglyphs, I guess you might call them, because obviously Thousand Suns scheme is, especially in 40k, there's a lot of Egyptian influence in the Thousand Suns schemes. But 30k, yeah, there's definitely that influence with the pyramids. But 40k, they go way overboard on it. And but I guess, you know, the scarab, the symbol of the scarab, it's a symbol of rebirth, I think, in Egyptian culture. Because I believe, I may be wrong about this, but I believe like the dung beetle, which I think is the same thing as a scarab. It's a symbol of rebirth in Egyptian culture because they believe there was a giant dung beetle that brought the sun every day, or brought the moon, I can't remember, like it was a giant one that pushed the moon across the sky, and that's why it's a symbol of rebirth, because of course it brought forth the new day, or the new night, I'm not entirely sure. So, magic of camera trickery there, I managed to get that packed away quite quickly for you, and now this is the pièce de résistance, the amazing Magnus miniature. Now, I have had a look in here already, you know, full disclosure, of course. I wanted to double check, basically, that I left it in my car on the day that I bought it. It was actually the evening, so I wasn't too worried, but I just wanted to double check there wasn't any major warpage or anything like that, because it was quite a warm day that day that I'd been to Warhammer World. It was the evening I went to Craig from the channel Kiblams. I went to his house to play my first game of 8th edition. So I bought it that morning, and then I went to his in the evening, and it was a fabulous game. So yeah, there's some good instructions on a lot of old Forgeworld kits. People complained about the instructions, but now you get a good idea of what piece they're talking about, because they highlight it in a different colour, and then they show you where to attach it on the miniature. You know, the face there and the arms, and all these little bits of it looks like material coming off. And then you go around here, and it's got all these rocks, and then swirly bits of mysticism and ether, I guess you might say, which of course these bits here, like he's summoning up power from the rocks, from the ruins of Prospero, and directing it towards his enemy, the dirty space wolves. Right, let's not get too excited and tip all of that out. So what's in here? What is in here? I didn't go too deep into this when I first opened it. I just opened it quickly and had a look at some of the details and stuff. He's a very big Primarch, Magnus. I've compared him to Angron. He's almost double the size of Angron. Supposedly he was able to manipulate how people viewed him, and change how he appeared to different people in a similar way to the way the Emperor did. When the Emperor first appeared to certain Primarchs, he was perceived as like an old man. I think it was Russ that he did that with. He was perceived as an old man, and then there was some kind of a challenge in Russ's hall that the Emperor took part in, and then everyone was amazed that he completed the challenge. But yeah, then obviously with psychers as powerful as Magnus and as the Emperor, yeah, they're supposed to be able to manipulate how you view them. The sculpt here is amazing on the muscles and everything. It's great definition, and the arm that holds like the Kopesh blade, I guess it is. That's got a nice little bit there for you to locate it, glue it into. It might even be but I was thinking maybe you could pop a really thin magnet in there and then pop the blade on top if you're worried about it snapping off. But for me, this miniature is going to be mainly display. I don't foresee myself playing too many games of 30k, but look at the detail on the van braces there. It's absolutely quality. Let's go to something else, shall we? This is just some of the smoke and ether that he's summoning. There's a shoulder pad there. I don't know whether I was painting that up as a Thousand Sun shoulder pad or Space Wolves. I guess it being on Magnus's base, I'm tempted more to do it as a Space Wolf, like it's someone he's basically blown apart with his psychic might, and the horns of Magnus here that come off his armor. A lot of people were disappointed that there were no nipple horns that you see in a lot of the 30k artwork, but for me, the way they've done the horns and the miniature itself, it's very sympathetic to the artwork. It takes a lot of cues from the artwork, but it's it's a lot less easy to poke fun at this miniature than it is some of the artwork. Just some of the little flails of material. There's not any great detail on there, but like you could put some scripts down them to make it look like an Oath of Moment or something slightly more arcane and occult that the Thousand Suns would maybe have on their armor. Just some other little trinkets and details here. A little horn there, and some Thousand Sun symbols with a scarab in the center. Now this is one thing I love. This piece here, it's very similar to the piece you get on the Ahriman miniature. It forms part of the psychic hood of Magnus and of Ahriman in the Burning of Prospero boxed game. So that's really it's a very similar design cue there. And then these feathers, which I didn't even notice when I first saw the miniature and got the 360 degree view of it up and stuff. But my friend pointed out to me, it's like, whoa, yeah, I didn't even notice that. There's just so much to look at on this miniature that you have to look at it a few times before you see everything. And even when you go back to it in the future, there's something new that pops up. There's a really fine detailed like the flaming circle symbol there of the Thousand Suns. It's a little difficult to see in the light, but once it's painted up, I'll pick that out. And the weapon, the blade. So there's some thicker. It looks kind of like a priest's robes. These bits. They've got symbols on going all the way down, and there's the weapon. like a Kopesh blade slash spear type thing. Halberd, I don't know what you call it really. And I'm going to pause it there. So now I'm moving on to some more of the armour here. It's like a shoulder plate with a horn attached to it. Absolutely lovely. Gorgeous design. There's, you know, such intricate detail on there. It's almost like an artificer of Tizca has designed it himself. Fantastic shoulder plate there. And then here is a magnificent piece. This is Magnus's head. And if you look closely, you can just about see that he's missing a right eye. It's an empty socket, where his left eye, you can see a defined eyeball, but his right eye, yeah, it's an empty socket there. So see if I can get you a better view just by adjusting my grip. There we go. So yeah, it looks kind of blank, the right eye, but the left eye, there is an eyeball in there. Very nice. And the hair and everything, absolutely fantastic. There's very little mold lines or flashing on this miniature as well, which is great news, because the more you scrape at a miniature to clean it up, the more likely you are to do a little bit of damage to a miniature. Just some more of the smoke there. So I'll move that to one side. See what else we've got in here. I'll pull this whole thing up to the camera for you. So some more armor plates and everything. It all seems a little bit underwhelming after you've seen the face there. Some more of the smoke and the ruins rather than runes. Here's a bit of flashing for you. There we go. It's very thin now. There's a book there, the Book of Magnus, I would assume. It's got a wolf on the front of it, the book, which is a really interesting detail. It's a wolf. Let's see if we can get this to focus for you. It's a wolf in a Thousand Suns symbol. So it's almost as if the book itself changes depending on what battle they are currently fighting, what enemy they're currently facing. Because I don't imagine that wolf symbol was always there. Really interesting. A lot of narrative to the details on this miniature. I'll just pack this away. So here we go. Let's see who inspected this one. See who's been doing their job well. I'm sure it says it somewhere on here. There we go. Checked by MB. And it seems like, from what I've seen so far, they've done a fantastic job, which is good news. Now this is all the base detail, the body of the miniature. So there's part of the base. As you can see, it's very similar to the larger diorama base. This is actually what forms the scenic base. There's some clues to that. There's room here for a large base, and then of course that sits on a base itself. So that's a display base for the Magnus miniature itself. But then add it to the diorama base, and then you can face him off against Russ, which I will be investing in Russ in the future, of course. Here is the bit that goes on the smaller base, so that'll sit on here. Magnus will stand on here, and then that will sit in there like that. It looks like it's going to be quite easy to pop it in and pull it out as well, which is great stuff, because I know some of the Primark bases can be a bit tricky when you're popping them out of the display bases that they come with. There's all little details. It gives you an idea of. Again, I talked about narrative before, but it gives you an idea of what's been happening on Prospero. When you see little runes carved into some of these rocks, these are like the crumbled ruins of Prospero itself. So it's all very interesting little narrative touches there. Again, some more rocks and ruins. There's not too many. On some of the Primark bases like Angron, you get to see, I'll just pop that there for a second. You get to see some Marines who are you know, in various stages of death. But this one, obviously, the whole point of this miniature is supposed to be Angron versus Russ, and that's the famous battle that happened. So there's only like one little hint of other Space Marines there. That looks like a little bit of a flame of one of the Thousand Suns symbols. So if you put that at the top there, there's a circle there, and there's another one at the bottom, another one there, another one there. So there we go. And now this is where this is the cloak. If you look on the bottom, again, all beautiful fine detail. You can just about make it out there on camera. So he's got 1,000 sun symbols in a square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 sun symbols going across the bottom of the cloak there, and then just lines going across. Lovely stuff. And then these holes are all where you can put the scroll work, the parchment, whatever it is that's hanging off of him. I guess it can be what you want it to be, but I'm going to try and paint it as close to the artwork as possible. And here is his armor itself. So if you look at the belt there, that is amazing. There's a scarab in the middle, 1,000 sun symbols surrounding it, and then the wings coming off it. The wings are associated with a scarab, I guess, but yeah, if you look down on his knees, there's a winged scarab there. It's got his wings unfurled and on both knees. And then it's really interesting the way the armor's plated around his thighs and stuff. And then if you look on his chest again, it's the winged scarab. And then even in his collar, that's going to sit behind his hair, obviously. But that is the 1,000 sun symbol in there. So it's, you know, it's little hints at detail on the inside of the armor that do, you know, it's what you pay for with Forge World. The Magnus miniature itself was £80. So the base, the diorama base was another £20. So I paid £100 just for Magnus and a diorama base. So you bet your bottom dollar I'll be investing in Russ in the future, and that'll be altogether £170 just for basically a diorama I'm going to have on display. I just want to make sure I do it justice with the paint job and everything. So I'll leave it there. It's been a little longer than I intended, this one, but thanks very much for watching, and I will see you on the battlefield.